Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to the Business Plugs Mixer. Hi, my name is Linda Murray Bullard. They call me the Business Plug, and you've just tuned into the Business Plugs Mixer. Tonight, we're going to talk about total wellness, and I have my girl Tiffany Hayes is going to join us. Tiffany Haney is going to join us. I gave her a new name, and that's not her name. Tiffany's going to join us, and she's going to tell us about total wellness. Like, you're going to want to lean in on this one, guys. But before we get to that, I want to tell you two things I have coming up. So the first thing is that Friday, August the 9th, from 12 to 2 o'clock, I am celebrating the National Co-working Day. And so I'm doing it at the Office Depot at 5600 Brainerd Road. So if you're in or near Chattanooga, Tennessee, come meet up. We're going to do a co-working day right there in the Office Depot. Like, have you been to Office Depot lately? Come and join me and spend time on co-working day at Office Depot, sponsored by LSMB Business Solutions. And the next Saturday, on the 17th, I am hosting a grant class. So, how would grants help your business get funding? This is about business funding, whether you are a for profit business, a nonprofit business, or even a church. If you are a community group, if you're interested in learning how to apply for grants, we're going to talk about the ins and outs of grants, and you're going to actually apply for your first grant in the room with me. I'm going to walk you through the process. That's the thing. So, those are the two things coming up. The grant class is Grant Magic 101.2. So Grant Magic 101.2. That means I'm giving you all the basics that you need in order to go after grant money. It's a rinse and a repeat thing. And my clients tell me, so Linda, I wouldn't have been open. One of my clients told me she wouldn't have been open through COVID if she hadn't sat in my class and learned how to operate with grants. So let's get the grants going. It's time to get that grant money. It's going into fourth quarter. We're going in the fourth quarter. It's time to get the grant money. Go ahead and reach out to me. I'll give you the link so you can purchase your ticket, but I'll see you on the 17th. It's from 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern time. So look at your calendar, put it on your calendar, and come join me and learn how to get this grant money. That's what we're doing. All of that done, my accountant and my coach and everybody should be happy. I've done that, the housekeeping part, the things I have to do. Now I'd like to introduce you to my friend, my new friend, Tiffany Haney. Tiffany and I met on the set of The Blocks. So, hey, Tiffany.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, thank you for your yes. Thank you for coming on the show.
Of
So
course.
tell my audience, who is Tiffany Haney?
Oh, well, I am founder and CEO of Holistic Healing and Crystals. We are in Strongsville, Ohio. So if you're in the Cleveland area, you definitely should come and see me. I have a brick and mortar, and basically we are a crystal shop. I have crystal subscription boxes. We do meditation and all sorts of things for mind, body, spirit, health. And of course, you probably want to know like why I opened this up and how I got
Absolutely.
into it, right?
Yeah.
So, I was like, I've been a yoga teacher for a while. And then like many of us, I changed significantly during like the lockdown, with,
Mm.
yeah. So like at first, like many of us, it was scary and we had to change the way we did everything. But I think a lot of people came out of that with a kind of a newfound respect for the way, like the quiet times in life,
Mm.
spending time with family. Like it made
Yes.
people reevaluate things, like imagine, like, I mean, we could even remember probably, like how excited you'd get just to go on a walk
I know
because
it.
it was like you had nothing else to do. So it's
Outside.
like,
Oh
oh,
no,
let's,
I'm
yeah,
outside.
right. So, but there was something really beautiful in that. And I think it made people kind of go inward. And I, I joke that, I was here with my family. I'm married and I have two boys. And at times they were driving me absolutely insane. And so I started meditating, and I
Mm,
had always kind of meditated a little bit, but to be honest with you, I used to say, oh, I'm not a meditation person. Like, I understand the value of it, I get it, blah blah blah. You can talk to me about it all day, I teach yoga, but I'm like, I'm more of a movement person. I need like moving meditation, which is great. But the power of meditation
mm,
is a life-changing foundation for absolutely everyone that I absurdly push on everybody. And because it's honestly the best place to start.
mm.
And even if you think you can't quiet your mind for meditation, the good thing about, our access to the internet and all of these things is that you can start with just a 5-minute guided meditation.
Mm.
I do also have a podcast that I do meditations on and talk about like spiritual things to kind of help hold people's hand and take them through
Love it.
the common things that we go through when we go through a spiritual awakening, which, yeah, one of those like buzz terms that everyone probably hears. And a lot of us who are on this path with a spiritual path, we already understand what that means. But there are so many people who have gone through this awakening and they don't know what it is.
What
Like they
happened?
don't know the
Yep.
terms, to put the
Yep.
label on it to kind of, and I think people do need context to understand what's happening in their lives. Like
Absolutely.
when you put like explain things and then just knowing that they're not alone. So I do a lot of mentoring. And again, my podcast is intended to kind of like walk people through that. So we're seeing more and more people who we say waking up. And basically, all I mean by that is that maybe you have reevaluated what makes you happy. Maybe
Mm,
your job just doesn't do it anymore.
mm.
Maybe usually what happens is you feel this kind of deep seed inside that you are meant for something more.
Yeah.
There's something bigger than you and you're craving it. And so many people come through my door and they're like, I don't even know why I'm here. I just like you popped up on my feet and I was like, I guess I'll come. And part of the way I try to frame everything is that isn't intimidating where it looks kind of a lot of crystal shops people think, oh, it's kind of witchy, or I don't know if I'll fit in, or there's going to be odd people there. But I make it very down to earth and explain things in a way that's very, you can incorporate these things easily into your everyday life.
Mm. So tell them, where can they find your podcast?
So my podcast is available on Spotify and YouTube, and it is called Rooted Frequency.
I
And
love
yeah, and so like I said, we have some meditations, and then I'll talk about your more run of the mill spiritual talks, but then also sometimes I go woo woo, and I like my last week we talked about star seeds, but I promise you, like, even if you think all of this stuff is silly, but if even a tiny part of you is like, your ear kind of perks up and you're like, that, what is that? Like, I kind of want to know. Follow that little, teaser and go down the rabbit hole. Why not? We're meant to learn on this
Yes.
earth, like it
Yes.
never stops. We never stop learning. And everyone kind of owes it to themselves to explore absolutely everything. And again, that's like what's so awesome about the internet. Yes, there's some bad stuff about our kids scrolling TikTok and all of that, but and having no attention span. But but we also do have access to hundreds of community, thousands of communities of like different types of spiritual people or,
Mm.
groups that you can find your niche, you can find your community. It really is about like, well, what about this? Like you might be listening right now and you've never heard the word starseed, but for some reason you're like, starseed, what? Like, I want to know about starseeds. Like, what is that? There's a reason you feel that way.
Yeah.
So you have to follow those things. And usually it kind of helps you to start to really unravel your purpose. We all do have a purpose on this planet. And, you know, it's definitely not clocking in and out of work every day and coming home exhausted and then zoning out in front of the TV. Not our
Absolutely.
not our purpose, right?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
and how we met, because when we met, we were on the set, but then the three of us, you and Rita and I,
Yeah.
found each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we ended up sitting beside each other and talking about how there's intentionality in our lives that brings us intentionally to a space. And I was running late that day because I had overslept, but you guys were there talking and things, and I was the very last name on the book for them to interview and whatever. But
Hmm.
as we were sitting there talking, like different things, different commonalities we have in our lives, being guides for people
Mm.
and helping people to see their biggest potential, their
Hmm.
biggest self. Like, talk about what or who should, like, you before, you did mention about the ones who have that drive, but who may not know they need to come see you.
I think that everyone should come see me, but no, but I really, if you I say like the biggest way to explain it. I feel like I was put on this planet to see the light in other people.
Hmm.
And I think that many of us have that in a lot of different ways. And if you are walking around with your light very dull and you need, pharmaceuticals to sleep and you just, need to stir, you need to sparkle it up. Like, we need to find your light. We need to find what makes you happy and what makes your soul alive. I think that we put a lot of emphasis on mental health and physical health, and even when we talk spiritual health, people will go to church. So that's like maybe they're checking the box for spiritual health. But I
Hmm.
think we need to kind of go one layer deeper and address
Mm.
soul health. And there's
Mm.
a reason why when you may be in church and all of it might not feed your soul, but like maybe when you're singing, you're up singing with your community, like that's like food for your soul.
Yeah.
There's a reason why we like light up at certain things. If you're a person who likes to go to plays or the opera, we all
Mhm.
have something that kind of just, it's like that little sparkle inside. And we need to find a way to access that every single day. It should not be where, oh, I don't like my job, but I'm saving up my money and I'm going to go on one vacation this year, and that'll be when I have 1 week where I enjoy my life. That's
Mm.
awful.
That's sad. That's
Yeah,
sad,
it
because
is.
you have 50 what, 51 weeks where you're not enjoying your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
And it's
that's
just, people
sad.
get, yeah, they get caught in that like hustle. And yes, it's tough out there right now. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I think everyone is having a lot of struggles mentally. Just the world's tough right now. There's a lot of terrible things always in your face on the news. And also financially, it's just tough in general right now.
Mhm.
But you can't let that completely run your life. I'm what I try to explain is that everything in life is balance. So we can't completely lose that human self. We can't completely shut down anxiety or worry or when the bills come in and things like that. But we have to have a balance to where, along with that, you have the tools to be able to shut that off
Yeah.
and go inward and like enjoy yourself, enjoy the trees, enjoy, going and sitting out on your porch or your patio or what have you. And or even I have a little sanctuary spot in my closet where I hide from my kids. so, so you can like do it in so many different ways, but like, I know when I'm in that spot, like I usually I'll meditate, and it's just, that's my little spot.
Yeah.
And because I like to be very cozy, so find like those things and prioritize them when, especially like life gets busy, totally. But one of the biggest things that I myself have learned as a person who has struggled through my entire life with like anxiety, has had like bouts of depression, and I know what it feels like. and
Mm,
and people who have been depressed, where it just feels like there's no way out. Like it's so like just this black cloud you're choking on,
yeah.
and you just can't get out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
So
hard to see on the other side of it when you're in it.
mm,
When before I knew what it was hard, right?
yes,
But
yeah.
now that I know what it is, like I'm able to cope with it, and I give myself, an opportunity to feel, to
Mm,
lean
mhm,
into the feelings, because that means I'm alive. But then after that, it's time to move on to something else. I have to pull myself out of it and do something to counteract it, right? So if
yes.
I've had a depression day, then I got to have a real high the next day.
Hmm.
So I want to feel all the experiences of life. And
Exactly.
so I couldn't do 51 years I mean, 51 weeks of, hating my life, and then have a week every once a year. That would not do for me.
No, and it doesn't do for anyone, like we're not designed to live like that,
Yeah.
and I love the way you put that, because that's so true. Like once you're able to identify kind of when you start to go downhill, or because we all have like,
Mhm. Triggers,
if you
right.
start to, you have to be very self-aware. You have to know like when you're starting to go into those places. I always am like, it's fine if you want to take a day where you sit in your bed and you eat a carton of ice cream and you're like, I am giving myself this day to just be
Mental
crying
health
and
day.
yes,
Mental health day.
yeah,
That's what it is.
yes. But then it's like, but then it stops there. Like you can't just sit there for a month.
No.
The next day you have to have those things. Like I know that when I start to get down, or like with having my own business, if I start to spiral out of control with like worry and all of those things, like in the morning, first thing, I'm going to go outside, I'm going to put my feet on the earth. So
Mm,
important. And people,
grounding.
yeah, grounding. So, and it's free and everyone can do it. And you need to go put your feet on the earth. Then,
Yeah.
also just intention. And I wholeheartedly believe in affirmations and just little positive sayings that you can focus on. And I like to, find one, and you can Google positive affirmations. But they're like I am statements. So we want to say them as if they already are true, not as things that we want in the future. So, if you are really, really worried about money, like maybe you say, I am grateful for the ability to pay my bills. So maybe you're just scraping by, but like, but I am so thankful to pay this check because I have electricity,
Yeah.
and how lucky am I? And I know like, and at first I always tell everybody some of the stuff, it's going to feel almost phony, but I always like fake it till you make it. And the more we tell ourselves these things,
And it's building muscles, right? It's
mm,
it's building muscles, because building muscle. Look, I lost all my muscles. So let me tell you, here I'm in year 3, and I'm still building muscles, and it hurts, and it's
yeah.
uncomfortable, and it's
Mhm.
not a daily I love to do thing. It's really not. But in order to build your affirmation muscle, say it, the more you use it, the more you they have this saying called repetition cuts a groove. And what
Mhm.
it means, if repeatedly you do these things, you're building that muscle, and after a while it will feel like it's supposed to feel. But
Yes.
you gotta get all that other stuff out of the way first.
Hmm. Yeah, I people don't realize how important our thoughts are. And
Mm,
we're so used to negativity.
Yeah.
And, and sometimes like people just, oh, it's, I'm sarcastic or,
Mm.
and it's just like, you're not even aware of all of the negative stuff that you
Mm.
say. And this can even be like positive people. Like they're not even, we all know those like actual, like really negative people, but even if you aren't like a super negative person, it's like the amount of thoughts we have a day, it's insane. I don't remember the number now, but I feel like it's like I don't know, like 500,000 thoughts a day or something like that.
Mm.
And you have to start to control the energy behind those
Mm.
thoughts,
Mm.
because that is what the universe speaks. The
That's
universe
good.
doesn't speak English. The universe doesn't speak, uh, Japanese. It doesn't speak any language other than energy. So regardless of the words that come out of your mouth, like when people are kind of toxic a lot and they'll say something with, a smile and you can feel the energy behind it, it's still toxic energy going out into the world.
Yeah.
The world doesn't care what you're saying. So and also same thing with, because money is a common one for people. If you always feel a lack, like every single time you get a bill, you feel lack. Every single time you go on Instagram and you see somebody who's on vacation and you feel jealousy and lack,
Mm.
you're putting that out into the universe, and the universe is like, oh, hey, Linda, so she loves to feel less than, because that's what she does all day. She's just putting lack out, so the universe is like, let's give her more like bad things, because that's what she wants. Like the universe doesn't get it. Like it's like,
Yeah.
okay, because it's just reciprocating. Everything's a balance. The universe
Absolutely.
reciprocates our energy. So if you are walking around like, I am a goddess and I am a multimillionaire and my business is successful, the universe is like, wow, like look at this successful person. Let's shove a bunch of success at her. So yes, fake it at first, but like you said, it's working those muscles and
It's what.
then it starts to become
Absolutely.
natural, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the thing. And I watched this great illustration of it. She had this a candle jar, and she said, in this jar we have your anxieties, your childhood trauma, your doubts and your fears, and all the things negative in your life. And so she put them and they were ping pong balls, and she put them in this jar. And then she started, she said, and this pail of water, this glass of water represents new thoughts, new ideas. It's unclouded, it's just pure. And the more you pour into you, the more those balls rise to the top and come out of you. And it takes
Mm,
time. But it was a wonderful illustration of how the more we pour in the good stuff, the bad stuff will come up and out of us.
yes.
And so that resonated with me on so many levels. And I was like, yeah, that is a perfect illustration. The more you know, the more you're able to know, and the more that you put in practice, like you're saying, your affirmations, do them daily. I have them written on my mirror. So as
Hmm.
I'm getting dressed, I'm asking myself, what will I do to help my business today? Like
Hmm.
making sure and saying them out loud so that I can hear them, because our brain listens. I teach GED math, and I have a student that says, I don't know. I don't know. She says that all the time. And I'm trying to deprogram her, because
Hmm.
you won't ever learn if you always saying, I don't, whatever. And so teaching people how to do that. I love that you do that. I love that.
Yes. And you just like with that analogy of the water, it kind of also makes me think. So when we go through mentorship and do the spiritual work, there is, we have to go inward and identify all the yucky, dark stuff. But I love that, because I can also think of it where you're adding that water, so you're adding that light in, and
Mm.
as those things come up, a lot of times, it's like we're shining a light on them, so you're going to feel them more heavily. It's like, so
Mm.
rising to the surface, things
Mm.
that you didn't even know were sitting down there and affecting
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah. So I like that analogy, because it also like, that is like what we feel when we do the work. When you put in the work, it's hard, and so much of it sounds simple, but it is hard to really be honest with ourselves and really shine that light on ourselves.
Mm.
It's very easy to see other people and it's hard for people to really see themselves, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with that. But the more we are conscious of it, right?
Hmm.
The more we become conscious of the things the areas we need to work on, our areas of improvement,
Hmm.
the more we implement and start learning and actually start practicing. Again, when you and I talked about how people think, to talk about your spirit, oh, that's witchery or whatever.
Hmm.
And I went into a crystal shop and I tried to get her to come on my show because I thought, oh, the energy, you could just feel the energy in the shop. She wasn't there, she had an aide there. But talk about going into a crystal shop, that experience about the different types of crystals and things.
Yeah. I just fell in love with crystals, and I got a crystal addiction. And so I was like, okay, I guess I should like open up a crystal shop. And it was like one of those things, like I said, where something piques your interest and you just kind of go all in. And I taught myself absolutely everything about crystals and energy and how they resonated with me. And I wanted to be able to share that with other people, because I think people do think of crystals as just kind of something that it's witchy and it's just silly, like they don't really do anything. But there's science behind it.
Mm,
They have energy. You can measure the energy in crystals. They use crystals to power television sets. So
mm,
you know clearly there's energy in them. So what I like to tell people is, even at the very least, that if you have anxiety, let's say, and you come into a crystal shop and you just think some crystal's pretty, you're attracted to some crystal, right? So you get it, and it's a small one, and you can like rub it between your hands for something to do. Well, at the very like minimum, every time you have anxiety, that can serve as kind of like a totem for bringing you back to mindfulness, because part
mm,
of anxiety is just those out of control thoughts that
mhm,
things that we cannot control. So
mhm.
if you are present and in the now, you can't have anxiety, you can't have depression, because you're just here, you're in it.
Yeah.
So I always am like, so give it a go. Like, even if you think that crystals do nothing, you have something to focus on, and that's like a form of meditation,
Mhm.
and easy to incorporate every day into your life, and you can just put it in your pocket, you know but then if you do find that you kind of like crystals, it is fun to learn about where to put them in your house. And if you want to start working with like the chakras and how they can work with different parts of you, um, it's a lot to learn, but I feel like people should never be overwhelmed. So like in my shop, um, I always tell, like, when people come in and they'll ask me, okay, I don't know anything about crystals. Can you help me find one for sleep? And I'm like, yeah, I can. But I want you to walk around the entire shop, see what you're drawn to, see what pulls you in, and then tell me, go, I really like this crystal. What does it do? And I'm like, I guarantee you it's for you. When I tell you what it does, you'll be like, oh my gosh, I totally need that. Because there's like, we are the special beings, all of us, every single one of us, like, has
Mm.
the, so if you just trust your intuition and trust your energy, you're going to probably find a better crystal than the store owner that you come
I
in and,
love it.
and talk
I
to.
love it.
Like, yeah, you can learn a lot of stuff, but trust yourself, like, to just go around and pick them up and touch everything and just see. A lot of times you'll be like, I don't even know why I really like this crystal, but I have to have
I
it.
love
So,
it. I
you
love
know,
it. So, what would you like someone to take away from this interview?
I want people to take away the fact that it's not a small percentage of people that are happy on this planet. I think as Americans, we kind of get into that headspace where it's like, only the pretty people on Instagram who are influencers, I would only be happy if I got X, Y, and Z, if I got to this place. It's within us. So I want people to understand that you do not have to struggle with those things any longer. There are so many people. I really think that, and I always think of us as lighthouses. And there's a reason, like Linda and myself were kind of drawn together, that we're put all over, the world. And you can find somebody that you resonate with. And again, and it doesn't have to be somebody in your town. You also, there's so many things online. You can start watching different channels and things like that. But um go, like, reach out, find something to help you get out of bed with a reason every day, and
Mm,
something to help you be inspired, because the world
yes.
really is, like, as dark as things get sometimes, the world is beautiful, and
Mm,
to go through all those human experiences and to really just feel things and honor this amazing experience that we get to have, the good and the bad, is incredible, and it's available to everybody.
it is. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
My name is Linda Murray Bullard. They call me the Business Plug. You just tuned in to the Business Plugs Mixer, where you're learning about total wellness with Tiffany Haney. If you would like to reach out to her, her links are all wherever you're watching this. And so join us each Sunday here at 7 o'clock ish Eastern Time for the Business Plugs Mixer. Thank you all for joining us this evening, and we hope to talk to you soon. Have a great week, everyone.